You want to know the real truth about wealth? The kind of truth that most people aren't ready to hear? Here it is: your bank account is nothing but a scoreboard of how well you understand the game of life. Let me break down something that nobody's talking about. While everyone's focused on investment strategies and market trends, they're missing the fundamental truth. Wealth isn't created in the market, it's created in the mind first. When I look at successful people, you know what I see? I see people who understand that money is a consequence, not a goal. Poor people chase dollars. Wealthy people chase problems worth solving. That's the first mindset shift you need to understand. Here's something that will blow your mind. Wealthy people don't actually focus on money. They focus on mastery. While everyone else is trying to get rich quick, they're busy becoming the best at something specific. Anything. Everything. Pick your poison. But be the best. You know what's interesting about wealth? It's attracted to clarity. Poor people have fuzzy thinking. They can't tell you exactly what they want or exactly how they're going to get it. Wealthy people? They can tell you their next 3 moves with crystal clarity. Let's talk about something nobody mentions: the relationship between wealth and boredom. Poor people get bored easily, so they keep switching strategies, jumping from one thing to another. Wealthy people? They're willing to do boring things consistently, systematically, relentlessly. Here's a truth bomb for you. Poor people play checkers, wealthy people play chess. Poor people make moves. Wealthy people create strategies. Poor people think about today's paycheck. Wealthy people think about decade-long wealth creation. You want to know why most people stay poor? They have a transactional mindset instead of a transformational one. They're busy exchanging time for money when they should be busy creating systems that make money while they sleep. Let me tell you something about opportunity cost, the thing nobody wants to talk about. Every time you say yes to something mediocre, you're saying no to something exceptional. Poor people fill their lives with so many small yes that they never have room for the big ones. The shocking truth about wealth? It's not about what you do, it's about what you stop doing. Stop consuming what everybody else consumes. Stop thinking what everybody else thinks. Stop wanting what everybody else wants. Here's something that might sting. Poor people are poor because they're comfortable being poor. They're comfortable with their excuses, comfortable with their limitations, comfortable with their stories about why they can't succeed. Want to know the real difference between rich and poor thinking? Poor people see money as something to earn. Rich people see money as something to orchestrate. They're not working for money, they're making money work in concert with other forms of capital. Let's talk about intellectual capital, the most undervalued form of wealth. Poor people stop learning after school. Wealthy people? They turn their mind into a wealth creation laboratory. They're constantly experimenting, testing, learning, adapting. You know what's fascinating? Poor people are obsessed with saving money. Wealthy people are obsessed with expanding their means. While poor people clip coupons, wealthy people figure out how to own the store. Here's something nobody talks about: the relationship between wealth and time perspective. Poor people live in the present. Wealthy people live in multiple time dimensions, simultaneously managing the present while building the future. Let me tell you about the power of strategic ignorance. Poor people try to know everything. Wealthy people understand that success comes from knowing what to ignore. They have laser focus on what matters and completely ignore what doesn't. Want to hear something counterintuitive? Wealthy people don't diversify early. They concentrate their efforts until they master something completely. Then they diversify. Poor people? They spread themselves thin from day one. Here's the truth about leverage that nobody tells you: poor people leverage themselves. Rich people leverage systems. Poor people use their own time and energy. Rich people build mechanisms that multiply their impact. Let's talk about the wealth-building power of saying no. Poor people say yes to almost everything. Wealthy people say no to almost everything. They understand that their success is directly proportional to the number of things they ignore. You want to know what really separates the wealthy from the poor? Pattern recognition. Wealthy people see patterns where others see chaos. They don't just react to circumstances, they anticipate and position themselves ahead of trends. Here's something that might shock you. Wealthy people don't enjoy spending money. What they enjoy is investing money. Poor people get a thrill from spending. Wealthy people get a thrill from watching their investments grow. Let's talk about the relationship between wealth and discomfort. Poor people run from discomfort. Wealthy people embrace it. They understand that every moment of discomfort is purchasing future comfort. You know what's interesting about wealthy people? They're not trying to prove anything to anyone. Poor people are constantly trying to look rich. Wealthy people are too busy being rich to care about looking rich. Here's a mind bender for you. Poor people think linearly. Wealthy people think exponentially. Poor people think about making more money. Wealthy people think about how to multiply their impact. Let's talk about the relationship between wealth and questions. Poor people ask themselves limiting questions like, how can I afford this? Wealthy people ask expansive questions like, how can I make this worth 10 times what it costs? Want to know something fascinating? Wealthy people don't compete, they create. While everyone else is fighting over existing market share, they're busy creating new markets entirely. Here's the truth about wealth and relationships. Poor people network. Wealthy people build ecosystems. They don't just connect, they create value networks where everyone involved becomes more successful. Let's talk about something nobody mentions, the relationship between wealth and attention. Poor people give their attention away freely. Wealthy people treat their attention like the scarce resource it is. You want to know what's really interesting? Wealthy people don't chase happiness, they chase excellence. Poor people are always trying to be happy. Wealthy people understand that happiness is a byproduct of pursuit and achievement. Here's something counterintuitive. Wealthy people aren't obsessed with goals, they're obsessed with systems. Poor people set goals. Wealthy people build systems that make achieving goals inevitable. Let's talk about the relationship between wealth and mistakes. Poor people try to avoid mistakes. Wealthy people understand that mistakes are the tuition you pay for success. You know what separates the wealthy from the poor? The wealthy understand that everything is a skill, including making money, including building wealth, including thinking about wealth. And they practice these skills deliberately. Here's something nobody talks about, the relationship between wealth and energy. Poor people manage money. Wealthy people manage energy. They understand that their energy is the foundation that everything else is built on. Let's talk about the wealth-building power of deep work. Poor people are busy. Wealthy people are focused. They understand the difference between motion and progress. Want to know something fascinating? Wealthy people don't blame anyone for their failures. They don't even call them failures, they call them feedback. Every setback is just data for their next success. Here's the truth about wealth and responsibility. Poor people avoid responsibility. Wealthy people actively seek it. They understand that responsibility is the price of opportunity. Let's talk about something nobody mentions, the relationship between wealth and patience. Poor people want instant results. Wealthy people understand that true wealth is built in years, not days. You know what's really interesting? Wealthy people don't react to life, they respond to it. Poor people are constantly reacting to circumstances. Wealthy people take time to choose their response. Here's something that might shock you. Wealthy people aren't smarter than poor people. They just make fewer dumb decisions consistently. They understand that wealth is built through the accumulation of good decisions over time. Let's talk about the relationship between wealth and standards. Poor people have low standards and hit them. Wealthy people have high standards and hit them. Your wealth will seldom exceed your standards. Want to know the real secret? It's not about the money. It's never been about the money. It's about who you become in the pursuit of wealth. The mindset shifts, the character development, the person you have to become, that's the real wealth. Here's the final truth. Wealth isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who deserves it. And that transformation? That's the real shocking truth about wealth that nobody wants to talk about. Remember this, every wealthy person you see made a decision at some point to think differently than everyone else. They decided that normal wasn't good enough. Average wasn't acceptable. And most importantly, they decided to back that up with action. The choice is yours. You can keep thinking like everyone else and getting what everyone else gets, or you can start thinking differently and create something extraordinary. But whatever you decide, know this: the way you think about wealth is creating your financial reality right now.